just a space between two buildings. People misuse it. The best thing about an alleyway would be if it's clean and it's used for the right purposes, because I see a lot of alleyways that are dirty and they're just there. I see a lot of graffiti and I just think to myself, wow, these people have a talent but they're misusing it. Alleyways are basically trash heaps. Maybe people could clean it up and use it as a backyard or something.
Having a chance to speak to Luz, Ana, and Sandra, 3 community partners, about how they deal with picking up the trash and how complicated that system is, really got me thinking into the procedures that the city has in place and see what a resident would have to go through in order to handle the trash situation, and also to understand that, you know, there are certain things that maybe aren't being taken into consideration.
I was actually surprised by how many people were very enthusiastic about the public meeting and wanted to sign up to receive more. I didn't think that we'd get nearly as many names as we did. I think we got almost 50 names of people who are interested in being involved. And I guess this challenged my assumption that the reason that the dumping was so bad was that people didn't care. It's obviously people feel helpless in the situation, and they are actually really concerned about seeing this problem through.
The thing that I found most surprising was getting the feedback from Nelson tonight, and he was pointing out that something as simple as creating categories for alleys or some of the information we found from other cities could be really useful for him as a resident and for the community in Lawrence. And so I think what it reminded me was how much perspective and information that we actually have, and that we shouldn't forget how valuable it can be if we deliver it in a really nice packaged way.
We did before, like for the data collecting, is kind of a really basic work that can just let people know what they have already know.
Our last meeting with the mill owners was how they all seem to be really oriented towards compromising already with each other, and you know, one person, I think Armin Hyatt, even said that they should maybe just put the mill powers off the table. There was a conflict of opinions around them. It surprised me because I think I was assuming that it would be more difficult to get everyone on the same page.
We organized around this before, and we wanted to make sure that we didn't tire them out by building their hopes up again. And I guess I thought that they hadn't really organized before, and so that was good to hear.
One of the people who spoke talked about the lack of education around how the trash is supposed to be put out, how it's supposed to be picked up, what goes where, if there's a price for it. And also there was a lot of concern about the lack of an adequate number of sanitation workers in the street. So that was again, I mean, this has been a trend that started with the first time that I heard Mayor Lantigua talk about this at MIT.
I enjoyed that people were looking for ways to fund the problems and not just expecting that the money is going to come directly from the city, just from their coffers or directly from NL.
The conversation about mill powers was interesting to me. I think this presentation had a lot more specifics about NL and what its actual responsibilities are, which ones it's keeping up with, which ones not. I had never heard a discussion of the mill powers before, and so that gave me a real tool for thinking about the future.
Just the statistics that you did on the breakdown of the alleyways, A, how many we had, I never heard a number before, and number 2, what the makeup of them were, who abuts them, commercial versus residential, and then the mixture of that. I thought that was valuable to me because we want to know how many are out there.
It really is powerful to have that continuity, not only to teach it one semester and then the next, but to have with you 2 people maybe who didn't co-teach it but who took it.
I have very close relationships with a lot of the students, and I feel like they feel very comfortable with Jeffrey just because of his approachable nature and good heart.
And me being able to share like all my experiences with the group of like how things worked out, and they're probably going through a lot of the uncertainties that we went through in our group with Paulina, that I think to them it has kind of like eased their minds a little bit, knowing that, you know, it's just part of the process.
something about them, because if someone breaks in, they can destroy the homes and start fires, and I think that every abandoned house should have a number to call to.
These houses are being used for bad things, for example, like drugs and giving kids a bad message.
The banks should take responsibility of the houses, because the houses represent the city of Lawrence.
We should do something about all these abandoned houses, all the trash here. People are going to have a bad reputation of us, and I don't really like that.
I want to know my kids to say, hey, look at Lawrence. It's a really good place. It changed completely.
For me, I've done a lot of work in the development field, like you know, cities that are considered poor and big in Latin America or in Africa. But I guess one thing that why I was interested in working in Lawrence and this issue was to see what's happening in our backyard. But when I hear other people talk about the foreclosure crisis, I mean, it's a crisis in Lawrence, and I think that's an important point I'll take away.
Good thing, so that we have some real data from the field that turned out to be very useful when cross-referenced with other databases.
I think the benefit of this group is that we were able to overcome all of those issues, work together, and remember the whole time who the community partner was. We've grown as planners because, yes, it's one thing to say that you want to be responsible to community partners, like that's how you want to do your work, but to actually, in the end, pull everything together and do all the hard work that is needed to be responsible to those people, that's a different story.
The short and long-term recommendations that we gave them were the result of collaboration, and that's why I think they were received well.
Something that we presented in the public presentation that the community partners responded well to was the sign and the registration form, so I guess the registration packet as a whole.
I was in charge of producing the maps together with Eric, and I think our process was very, very good because we have been including feedback from community partners, and we've been refining them over the semester. So the final product, I think, is very accurate, and it really serves the needs of the city to make informed decisions about their potential reinvestment areas.
The primary role in this sprint of the practicum was data integration and data management, which is not always glamorous. And I think we were able to draw a lot more conclusions this time around by integrating the data from professional services, from CHAPA, from the fire department, and from our excellent qualitative team's field surveys. So I thought that was really valuable to this sprint.
When we were talking to one of the community members, they pointed out that Deutsche Bank was a real problem, that they were this problem bank who owned all the REOs. But one of the things that really surprised me is when we looked at the CHAPA database, we found out that Deutsche Bank isn't a large holder of REO properties, that it's really, you know, HUD is the biggest owner. And I think this brings into question kind of myths that are perpetrated in or perpetuated in communities about what the condition is that might have a disconnect with the objective data.
I'm not the kind of person to get completely involved in a community in a certain way. It's just not the way I function. It's not the way I think. I think in terms of policy. I came in thinking it's going to be a class and it's going to be the 12 hours. And I knew it was going to be a lot of work, but I didn't realize for other people what this work meant. It didn't mean just analyzing a policy paper or learning about the definition of the ordinance, but more of connecting it to real people.
I really want to improve on how to communicate in a more diplomatic fashion. I think that's a big lesson that we're constantly learning in this practicum, is how to help and work with government agencies and identify issues, but do it in a diplomatic manner.
One of the interesting things is the way the students reacted to city officials interacting and bringing together both the community partners and city officials in a dialogue over the course of the practicum. I really thought that the students got an idea of the complexity of the foreclosure crisis, and then we're able to drill down, to focus on certain aspects, and to be disciplined in that.
I'm looking forward now to taking their results, which they call short and long-term goals, I think can be it can be implemented in a very short time period. So I'm very excited about that. I think that's what they brought positive to the table. They're not unrealistic goals. They're stuff that we can go out, make these banks comply with the ordinance, bring some money into the city, and any upfront costs that we may need for a database or a ticketing system, whatever it may be, use that money to pay for that.
The partnership, what I would call it, is started 10 years ago, and every year throughout the summer and sometimes throughout the winter, a group of undergraduate students from MIT will come to do some sort of research of different types, and we use that data either to propose a project or to correct a problem. And so far so good. It's been very helpful to us. So it's a partnership that we look forward to continue for many, many years to come.
It's just too trashy. There's like trash everywhere.
I think everybody in the community should just, pitch in, have their part.
Exactly, yeah.
And community service, everything.
Yeah, and like if they see an abandoned house, they could just call, oh, there's an abandoned house here. The city will make it better. That way everybody has a part in making the community a better place to live in and cleaner.
Let's do this!
Yeah!
That I took this class because Colina caught me coming down the Infinite. That's how I ended up here. But it's great that I was here and I got to meet her and know her better. She's just an amazing person, and that's it.